Hi, I'm Bridget and welcome to this stretchy yoga practice today where we're going to focus on opening up through our hips and hamstrings a little bit. So we're going to get started in seated and we'll get straight into it with our half butterfly pose. I feel like this is one of my favorite ones for my hamstrings. So we're going to take the right leg out at about a 45-degree angle and keep that left foot in towards you. We're going to turn the body to face that right foot and then draw the right toes back towards you. We're going to send the chest forward. So rather than rounding forward straight away, we're going to see if we can keep some nice length through the spine as we send the chest towards the toes and then keep those toes drawing back towards the chest. So you can really bend into that right knee as much as you'd like to here so that you can breathe into that stretch. Feel your hamstrings lengthening. So just adjusting as you need to. If you've got a strap nearby or I don't actually have a strap. I don't know where any of my yoga straps are at the moment, but I do have a coat with a cord that goes around the belt that I don't wear. So I could get that and I just put it around the back of my foot and then draw my foot towards me a little bit more so that I'm keeping that chest drawing forward. But you also don't need the strap. If you don't have a strap, that's no problem either. Just keep that chest drawing towards the toes. So really hinging from the hips rather than bending from the center of the spine, because we'll get to that in a moment. Sending the chest forward. We're really going to use our breath for this practice today. So taking a nice deep breath in, exhale, see if you can send the chest forward a little bit more. And then on your next exhale, you can really round it forward, nice and active through the toes still, but you can round through the spine. Let the head and the neck get really heavy. Just letting the hands and the arms rest wherever you feel like it. So we're still sending the breath into the back of that right leg. Feel the hamstrings stretching. Nice and active through the toes. And using your breath, the longer that you stay in each pose, noticing that with each exhale, you might be able to find a little bit more depth. You might be able to sink into the pose a little bit more. And then when you're ready to move out of our half butterfly on this side, we'll tuck the chin in towards the chest and see if you can move really nice and slowly, rolling up through the spine. Coming back up to seated, and we'll bend the right knee back in, take it to the other side. So draw the right foot in towards you. This time we'll send the left foot out at about a 45-degree angle. Turn the body to face that left foot and then we draw the toes back towards us. So getting nice and tall through the spine. Drop the shoulders first, so give yourself a moment to set up. Nice and active through the knee here, so almost as if you're drawing the knee up towards you. And then we start to send the chest towards the toes this time. And whenever I'm sort of moving from my chest, I like to imagine that there's a piece of string wrapped around the back of my chest and it's pulling me forward. So squeezing the shoulder blades back together to push the heart space forward. You can keep that nice generous bend through the left knee so that you can find a little bit more space here. Breathing wherever you are. You might feel a little bit of a stretch through the right side body here. Just adjusting the hips so that you can really send your body towards that foot. Using the breath. Nice deep breath in. Exhale, melt into the pose a little bit deeper. And then on your next exhale, you can round it forward. Let the head and the neck get heavy as you round through the spine. And the hands and arms rest wherever. Maybe closing down the eyes as you breathe here. Still nice and active through those toes, nice and active through the knee, so drawing the knee back towards you. Using the breath. And then really slowly we'll roll it back up. Let the head and the neck come up last. And we'll take a wide-legged forward fold from here. So send both legs out. You can take them a little bit wider, but not to where it's uncomfortable. Again, nice and active through the legs. So keeping the toes drawing up towards the sky and nice and active through the knees, drawing them up towards you. We'll get really nice and tall through the spine. Maybe taking a couple of rolls of the shoulders while you're there. And then before we take our forward fold, we're going to plant the right palm in front of us. On an inhale, we're going to reach up and over to the right side with our left hand. You can bring that right hand beside you for support, but to really get into that stretch, reaching the other way. And then come back up and through center, taking it to the other side, left palm to center or to the side for support, reaching up and over with the right arm. And then we'll come back to center, find our forward fold, find that length through the spine, send the chest forward first for as far as you can. I think that was the middle. For as far as you can, keeping those shoulders squeezing back together. Sinking the chest, keeping those toes up towards the sky, and then you can round through the spine, relax through the head and the neck. So just coming to wherever feels comfortable so that you can hold it for a couple of breaths. So you might still be up here on the palms, and this might feel like a really nice stretch, breathing into it. But just see if you can come to your edge, but not to a point that's uncomfortable. Keep breathing. And then nice and slowly, we'll roll it back up. Bring the hands underneath the knees. We're going to bring them back in towards us. Keep the knees bent. Just bring your hands behind you so that you can windscreen wiper the legs one way, back the other way. Legs should feel a little bit more stretched out now. We're going to keep moving through our practice. And then coming back to seated, we're going to find a little bit more opening through the hips here. One piece of hair in my mouth. We're going to open up through the hips a little bit more here. So we'll take the right foot first. We're going to bring the outside edge of the lower part of our right leg parallel with the long edge of our mat. So straight in front of you. Hope that makes sense. I don't think I explained that very well. Outside edge of that right leg down so that it's parallel with the long edge of your mat. I think that makes sense. From here, we're going to see if we can stack our left foot on top of the right knee, left knee on top of the right foot. So you should have like a triangle here. If that's not working in the hips or the legs, we're not going to do that. We'll bring the right foot in towards us a little bit more, and then just bring the left leg in front. So rather than on top, we've just got it resting in front of that right leg. So you've got two options here. We're either stacking, or you've just got that left foot in front of the right leg. Left leg in front of the right leg. I think that was okay. And then we're just finding that nice length through the spine here, breathing into the hips. This should feel like a really nice deep opening through that left hip. A little bit like a pigeon pose, but both legs. Sending the breath to the hips, maybe closing down the eyes here. And you can stay here, which I think that this is a really nice place to stay. If you would like a little bit more, you can also find a forward fold here, find some rounding through the spine. But whatever works best for you. So either staying with that nice length through the spine or rounding it forward just for a couple of breaths. You might like to find a little bit of movement, so folding forward, feeling that nice stretch, and coming out of it, moving with the breath. And then slowly we're going to unravel the legs. Bring the feet in front of you, so we've got the knees bent, just so that we can wiggle that out a little bit. So take a couple more windscreen wipers, drop the knees down to one side, over to the other. And then we'll take it to the other side. So coming back to seated, this time we're going to take the left leg. Outside edge of this left leg comes down to the mat. We want our shin parallel with the long edge of our mat. That was so much better than before. Then we're going to see if we can stack that right foot on top of the left knee, right knee on top of the left foot. See if you can find space here. Otherwise, just bring that left leg in a little bit closer so that you can bring that right leg right in front of it. So much better the second time. Finding some length through the spine, drop the shoulders away from the ears. So either just staying here and seated, maybe you'd like to play with that forward fold. You might come to rest in forward fold and find the breath here. You might find a little bit of movement. Just being with the breath wherever you are here. Sending the breath to the hips. And check in how you feel throughout the rest of the body, maybe checking in with the mind, noticing what kind of thoughts you got going on up there. Not judging anything, just noticing, and then bringing the attention back to the breath. And then we'll slowly unravel. Bend the knees, bring the feet back in front of you. We'll take another couple of windscreen wipers on this side. And then from here, we're going to find our low lunge. So from seated, make your way to tabletop. Shoulders are stacking above the wrists, hip points above the knees. You might like to walk the hands forward a little bit. If you've got some blocks, bringing the hands up onto some blocks can help to step that right foot forward. So we're stepping the right foot forward between the hands. Just take a moment in your low lunge here. This should feel like a really nice opening through the front of that left hip. Find the breath here. See if you can draw the shoulders, squeeze them back together so you've got a little bit more space through the chest. And then let's open up the hamstrings a little bit more. We'll tuck the left toes under and find our half splits. So we're going to straighten through the right leg, draw those right toes back towards the chest. Chest towards the toes again. You can keep a nice generous bend through that right knee, just as long as you can feel that nice stretch through the back of the leg. We really don't want to lock this knee anyway, so we want to keep at least a little micro bend. Breathing here. Again, it can be helpful to have some blocks, or even if you've got something next to you to help you balance here. Then we're going to take this one a little bit further, and I think that this is a really nice stretch. So keep those left toes tucked under. We're going to sink the hips back down towards the heels, level out the knees, level out the hips, so we want them to be in line with one another. Then we're going to point through the right toes. Start to round forward through the spine here. You can walk the hands out to the side for balance, but really pointing through those toes. You still might have that bend through the knee, but you should feel a really nice stretch through the front of that right leg. And even though we're focusing on hips and hamstrings, I think a lot of the muscles and the joints around those sort of areas, we need to make sure that we're sending a bit of energy there as well. Making sure we're not forgetting about any of the other important parts. All right, let's take it back into our lunge. So we're going to step that foot forward a little bit further so we can come back into our low lunge. From here, we're going to take a variation of our lizard lunge. So we'll bring both hands to the inside of that right foot, then heel toe, that right foot over to the outside edge or to the right edge of our mat. Lift the toes, turn them out at about a 45-degree angle. You might need to adjust depending on how that feels. And then slowly we're going to see if we can lower down. You might just like to stay here on the palms, but if you've got a little bit of space, see if you can lower down onto the forearms. Finding a place that feels comfortable enough that you can take a couple of really nice deep breaths here. You might notice that the mind tries to distract you, or the mind starts to get really busy here. See if you can bring the attention back to the breath. We'll only be here for a couple of breaths. You might like to roll onto the outside edge of that right foot. One more breath here. And then slowly making your way back onto the hands if you're not there already. And we're going to make our way back into our tabletop. So bring that right knee back to meet the left. Give the hips a little sway from side to side. So kind of windscreen wipers, but not really, with the same kind of movement. Rocking the hips. You might like to stretch the legs back before we take it to the other side. And then when you're ready, again, maybe take the hands forward a little bit. We're going to step that left foot forward into our low lunge this time. So take a moment here, stretch it out, send the breath to the front of that right hip this time. Find the breath, see if you can find a little bit of space through the chest, squeeze the shoulder blades back. So we're still staying nice and aware of the whole body as we move through this practice. Then we'll find our half splits from here. Open up the hamstrings a little bit. Tuck the right toes under, straighten through that left leg, and then draw the toes back towards you. So you kind of got to use that right leg a little bit to power up, to hold you there in this kind of balance. Draw the left toes back towards you. See if you can draw the see if you can draw the toes towards the chest. I think that was what I was going to say. Again, you can keep that nice bend into the left knee. And just noticing as you straighten and bend that knee, how much further forward you can get the chest forward. And just focusing on moving from the chest, bending from the hips rather than rounding through the spine will really help you get deeper into those postures where you do stretch through the hamstrings, the backs of the legs. And then from this one, we're going to take it a little bit deeper. Drop the hips all the way down onto that right heel, level out the hips and the knees. We're going to point through the left toes. I think I need to slow down when I talk sometimes. Point through the left toes, and then we round it forward. Take the hands out to the sides. Round it forward. Really seeing if you can squeeze those toes down towards the mat. And you can really round through the spine for this one as well. One more breath. Then we'll make our way back to our low lunge, so you'll have to step that left foot forward a little bit. Then we're going to bring both hands to the inside of the left foot, heel toe, that left foot over to the left edge of the mat this time. Pick the toes up, turn them out at about a 45-degree angle. We find our variation of our lizard lunge on this side, so we sink the hips down. Maybe staying up on the palms or seeing if you can come down on the forearms. Finding that place where you can take a couple of nice deep breaths. And that might be different on this side. Sometimes one side feels a little bit different to the other. So not trying to force anything. If you have to come up onto the palms on one side, maybe you can get a little bit deeper on this side. Closing down the eyes. Checking in with the mind. Noticing where it's going. We'll take one more nice deep breath. Exhale, let it go. And then we'll make our way back up onto the palms if you're not there already, and come back to our tabletop. So lift the hips back, we bring the left knee back to meet the right. Take that little windscreen wiper motion, rock the hips from side to side. Maybe stretch the legs out behind you. And then we're going to make our way to seated. So cross one heel over the other. Make your way back to seated, and then come all the way back to lie down. And then when you get there, we're going to take our happy baby pose. So you can either do this one leg at a time, so bend the right knee in, bring the right hand to the inner arch of that right foot, and then draw the right knee down, lift the sole of the right foot up towards the sky. You can either stay here and just do the right leg first and then swap over to the other, or you might like to bring the left leg into it as well. So bring the left palm to the inner arch of the left foot. Send both feet up towards the sky. Hug the knees in and down towards the armpits, and then see if you can squeeze the shoulder blades down towards the mat. If that feels like too much, we'll just stay with the right one. Really nice opening through the hips and through the hamstring as well. Find the breath. If you'd like to find a little bit more movement while you're here too, you might like to straighten through that right leg as well. Got a little bit of a shake going on. So bending through the knee back into your half happy baby, and then stretching through the leg. If you've got both legs, you might like to try straightening out through both legs. So just having a little bit of time to explore here in happy baby. If you're still on the right leg, we're going to swap now. So releasing the right foot back down to the mat, we'll take it to the other side. If you're still in your full happy baby, you can stay there. Otherwise, we're going to take the left palm to the inner arch of our left foot, take it over to the left side. So drawing that knee in and down towards the armpit. See if you can draw the shoulder blade down, which can feel a little bit tricky in this one. Again, you might like to try straightening out through the leg, taking it into the hamstrings a little bit more. Whatever works. We'll take one more breath. And then release the left foot back down. Bring the feet together, bring the soles of the feet together. We're going to find our Supta Baddha Konasana. Drop the knees down to either side here. If you've got some blocks or some pillows to put underneath the knees, that can feel really nice as well. You might like to bring the hands to rest on the hips. We've done a lot of work through the hips today. Or you might like to bring one hand to the belly, one hand to heart space. Maybe hands out to the side, or my personal favorite, make a little hammock with the hands, and then let the head rest so that you can open out through the arms a little bit more as well. Open up through the chest and the shoulders. Take a nice deep breath in. Take the deepest breath you've taken all day. And then exhale, really slowly letting it out. And you can either stay here for a little while longer and meet us in Shavasana when you're ready. Otherwise, we're going to make our way to our final resting posture, our Shavasana, by sending the legs out nice and long. Bringing the palms face up, hands by either side, arms by either side. Maybe closing down the eyes here. Letting the breath return to normal. Feeling yourself get really heavy with each exhale, melting down towards your mat. Noticing if there's anywhere you can let go of any tension that you're holding that doesn't serve you. Let it go. Otherwise, just noticing. And knowing that you are exactly where you need to be right now. Becoming really present in this moment. Letting go of anything that came before this practice or anything that comes after. Just being exactly where you are with your mind, your body, and your breath. Sending yourself a little bit of gratitude or a lot of gratitude, however much you can find today. Just sending it to yourself, thanking yourself for showing up for this practice today. Gratitude and thanks for your body for moving you through this practice. And gratitude for the day that you've been given, no matter what kind of day it is. Maybe you would like to send some gratitude out to someone else. You can stay here in your Shavasana. Otherwise, we're going to make our way to seated to close our practice together. So wiggling the fingers and the toes when you're ready. Bending into the knees and turning onto one side. Making your way up to seated. If you're still in your Shavasana, feel free to pause the video and just stay there for a moment longer. Otherwise, we'll take one last nice deep breath together to close our practice. We'll inhale the hands up and overhead, bring the palms together. Exhale, hands come together at the heart and we bow through the head and the neck. Thank you so much for joining me for this practice today, and I hope that you are feeling amazing. The light in me recognizes and honors the light in you. Namaste.